Hey friends, welcome back to class. I wanted to post in a little update, little review of Friday's lecture. Very quick review, and then I wanted to go ahead and finish it since we didn't quite have time. There's that last little bubble that we need to address, and so let's just dive right in. So on Friday we discussed the beginning of history. Uh, Meaning there's a huge demarcation line between prehistory and history, and that demarcation line is the invention of writing. So we have tracked that with Sumer, who was the first to invent writing and the first civilization uh, that we know of. It's really out there. So we jump in. First, with this idea, here we go, beginning of history. We have, in general, four key features to a civilization. This is true for Sumer, Egypt, the Aztecs, the Incas, America, and on and on and on. If you have a civilization, you have these four key features. First, that it's urban based. There's got to be a collection of people, a society, right? Second, that there's large scale agriculture, a means to support the urban population. Large scale trade, you're trading with not just other villages, but other entire civilizations, right? Because no one geographic location has everything, every resource needed for people to thrive. And you got to think settlers of Catan, right? Or as it's called, settlers these days. And writing. Without writing, the population doesn't have a means to advance because you invent stuff and it's really cool, but if that breaks, you don't pass down to other generations the knowledge on how to rebuild it, how to maintain it, etc. You don't keep records, all that. So uh, those are the four key features to a civilization. All right. Then we look at Sumer and we look at where it takes place, and it's in this Fertile Crescent, as it's called. This is in the Middle East, and it's here in between in this river valley of the Tigris and Euphrates. Okay, very important. Something about the Tigris and Euphrates is that much of it's marshland, and it's got to be tamed. So you got to build canals to collect the water, and you've got to build levees to keep the water out of other places. And what you end up with is very fertile land. Fertile spelled with an E, as we have discovered. The Tigris and Euphrates are very difficult rivers to tame. They're snow fed. Very important for you to note later. Snow fed, difficult to navigate. The Euphrates is too slow. The Tigris is too swift. But once we do start to see these rivers being tamed, uh, we have some really fertile land that's it's very easy to farm. Great. One other feature that I didn't address in class is that the Tigris and Euphrates are very unpredictable. Since they're snow fed, flooding is common. And so keep that in mind for later. Unpredictable. Lots of flooding. Hint, hint. Flooding. It's no secret that this is the area which the flood narrative has emerged. Okay, we have the advancing agriculture. We have some technology being built, like plows and yokes and such, to help us to advance agriculture. We have the domestication of animals to help us with agriculture, large scale farming, as we've seen. And that's the Al Ubayyad period, which covers the time from 4500 BC to 3500 BC. Moving right along real quickly, we get the Uruk period where we see lots of consolidation taking place in Sumer. Small villages consolidating into larger villages, which become cities. At the center of these cities, very important, is the Sumerian religious system, the temple called the ziggurat. If you'll go read Genesis 11 10, 11, concerning the Tower of Babel. The Tower of Babel is thought of to be a ziggurat. Moving on to the Proto-Literate period. Proto means like before. They're starting to write, starting to read. We look at the definition of what literacy, and it's basically the ability to write and read and comprehend writing. What is writing? It's recording things on some kind of means. Clay is not the best means to record writing, as we've seen, as we ourselves know. One of the best ways to record writing is computers, really. Paper. It's a lot easier to replicate and to edit and all that. So paper's better than clay. Nevertheless, it's great for recording stuff. It's much better than the noggin. If y'all are familiar with your noggins, they forget things quite easily. So this is the Proto-Literate period, 3100 to 2800 BC. We start writing down primitively necessary things, right? So goods coming in and out of coming in and going out of the ziggurat. Great. Sumerians needed a way to keep inventory. So we have that going for the Sumerians. And then in this early dynastic period, 2800 to 2300 BC, this is what we skipped in class. So I wanted to point out to y'all that many of these cities are popping up in this Fertile Crescent. This is the Fertile Crescent, the valley of the Tigris and the Euphrates, this whole section. And my noggin is somewhat in the way. So let me see if I can move myself out of the way. Okay, so this is the Fertile Crescent here. And here. Yep, okay. And we have popping up lots of cities in this Fertile Crescent. There is no cohesive organization between cities. The cities stand alone. And so I wanted to bring up the concept of the city-state. So each city has its own king, much like Gilgamesh is the king of Uruk. These city-states clashed with one another in their advancements, right? So we have this little side note that I think is really important to address. A city-state is an independent or autonomous entity whose territory consists of a city which is not administered as part of another local government. So the city-state is independent. There isn't a king over a bunch of cities. There's a king over just the one city, and they govern themselves. Something about city-states, as opposed to empires or nation-states, is that there's fierce competition and quick cultural progress. And that's a financial principle as well, where you have lots of wherever you have lots of competition, you have lots of advancement. Wherever there's a monopoly on something, you don't have much advancement. The quality doesn't go up, in other words, right? Okay, great. So that's the early dynastic period. We have the formation of these city-states. Lots of cities are popping up, and these city-states are independent from one another. They govern themselves, and what we see is fierce competition going on between these city-states and rapid cultural and technological advancements. So that's what's going on. I did want to show you some cool artwork that we have found. Not me, of course. I guess I found it on the internets. But other really cooler people, scholars and archaeologists and such, they have found these artistic things in Sumer, which is cool. Depicting agricultural scenes. There are prominent people that are ruling over other people, so that's interesting. There are musicians, so music is a thing in civilizations. There are some domesticated animals. This is probably a procession going to the temple, and probably a sacrificial procession going on. And then we have labor, lots of labor going on with agriculture and things like that. Great. And here's some more artwork. This is roughly the same kind of thing. I don't remember where I found this on the interwebs or where the archaeologists have found this. I'm thinking the ziggurat that they've uncovered had this, but we don't know, and that's not something that's like material we've covered. But I did want to show you that artwork in that derives from Sumer. Okay, great. That wraps it up. So I do want you to review the Prezi on your own. In This is definitely stuff that you can include in your monthly project, your notebook assignment. There you have it. So I'll see y'all Friday. Be sure to have read up through Tablet 8, up to Tablet 9. We will start in Tablet 9 next week and finish the Epic of Gilgamesh and all that. And that's all we have. For Friday, our lecture will be over Egypt. So that's exciting. We'll look at the pyramids. We'll look at the River Nile, the Nile River, the Delta, Nile Delta, and look at some particular aspects of the Egyptian civilization. And we get to compare and contrast Egypt with Sumer. So we'll see you Friday. Bye.